I opened the front door of my own house and found my wife kneeling on the hardwood floor wearing a filthy apron that read housekeeping staff. I froze solid in the doorway. My suitcases dropped to the floor with a loud thud. She looked up, and in her eyes, I saw something I'll never forget. It wasn't surprise, and it certainly wasn't joy at my return. It was shame, a deep, crushing shame that made it impossible for her to meet my gaze. I share new life stories here every day, and I'd really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and liked my video. Now, let's jump back into my story. I'm sure you'll love it if you keep listening till the end. Naomi, I whispered. My hands were shaking. My wife, the woman I had built an empire with for 35 years, was right there, on her knees, scrubbing the living room floor with an old rag. Her hair was pulled back in a sloppy ponytail. Strands of gray stuck to her forehead with sweat. Her arms, those arms that once held me so tightly, looked fragile, trembling, the veins standing out beneath skin that was too thin. The apron was the worst part, grimy white, smeared with grease, with those black letters printed right across the chest. Housekeeping staff. In my own home. It's not like I'm a man who gets impressed easily. At 58 years old, I've seen everything. I built 3 companies from scratch. I survived economic crises, betrayal from partners, and years of sacrifice spent away from my family. But this was something my mind just couldn't process. Naomi, for God's sake, what is going on here? She tried to get up quickly, stumbled over the bucket of dirty water, and almost fell. I rushed to steady her, but she recoiled as if my touch burned her. No, Elijah, you shouldn't be here yet. Her voice was a broken thread. You said you were coming back next week. I wanted to surprise you all, I replied, feeling the rage begin to simmer in my chest. And what a surprise I've gotten. Then I heard the footsteps. They were coming down the stairs with an insulting slowness. My son, Jamal, appeared first, cell phone in hand. He didn't even look up. Right behind him came her, Chandra Vance, my daughter-in-law, dressed as if for a photo shoot in a designer athletic outfit, her hair perfectly styled. Naomi, are you done with the living room yet? Because the upstairs bathroom is absolutely hideous, and I need a shower. Chandra stopped dead when she saw me. Oh, God. Jamal finally lifted his head. His expression flashed from surprise to pure annoyance in a single second. Dad, what a surprise. I stood there, looking at my 32-year-old son, wearing a $300 designer t-shirt and sneakers that cost more than many people's weekly paycheck. I looked at my daughter-in-law with her perfect nails and her princess attitude. And then I looked back at Naomi, my 59-year-old wife, wearing that humiliating apron, her knees red from scrubbing floors. Explain, I said, with a calm I didn't feel. Explain what the hell is going on in my house. Jamal let out a nervous chuckle. Dad, you just don't understand the situation. Mom, she wanted to help with the house expenses and... Help? I cut him off. Help by putting on a servant's apron in her own home? Chandra crossed her arms with a condescending smirk that made me clench my fists. Oh, father-in-law, don't be so dramatic. Naomi offered herself. We both work all day. Someone has to keep the house tidy. Besides, she doesn't have anything else to do. You've been overseas. The kids are all grown up. My blood boiled. Every word that woman spoke was an insult, but I held it in. Something in the way Naomi kept her head down, in how she clutched the rag in her trembling hands, told me this had been going on for a long time. How long have you been like this? I asked my wife directly. She didn't answer, only lowered her gaze even more. Answer me, Naomi. 2 years, she finally whispered, ever since Jamal and Chandra moved in here temporarily. 2 years. 2 years I had been working overseas, sending money every single month, thinking my family was fine. 2 years during which my wife had been reduced to an employee in her own home. I spun toward Jamal, my son, the boy I raised, whose private university tuition I paid, whose first car I bought, whom I supported when he chose to marry Chandra, despite my reservations. And you allowed this? My voice came out lower than I expected, but it was loaded with a disappointment that weighed a ton. He shrugged. Dad, we contribute too. We pay utilities. We buy groceries. This is my house, I said slowly, bought with my work. And she, I pointed at Naomi, is my wife, your mother. She is nobody's employee. Chandra scoffed. Oh, for crying out loud, what a scene. Naomi, why did you tell him? We knew he was going to get like this. Something inside me broke. For 35 years, Naomi and I built everything together. When I started my first business, she worked 12-hour shifts at a fabric shop downtown to help me cover expenses while I got the company off the ground. When the children were born, she gave up her dreams of studying architecture to raise them. When I had to travel for work, she stayed behind alone, holding the family together. She never complained. She never asked for anything in return, just love, respect, and companionship. And now, after everything she had sacrificed, she was on her knees in her own house, being treated like dirt by her own son. Get out, I said. Jamal blinked. What? The both of you, get out now. Chandra let out an incredulous laugh. Are you serious? Where are we supposed to go? We sold our condo a year ago because you said we could stay here. That's not my problem. You have 1 hour to pack your things and get the hell out of my house. Jamal took a step forward, his fists clenched. Dad, you can't do this to us. We're your family. Mom, say something. Naomi remained on the floor, silent, her eyes filled with tears. I knelt beside her, gently taking the rag from her hands. I unbuckled the apron and tossed it across the room, as if it were contaminated trash. Get up, my love, I said softly. Please, get up. She shook her head. I can't, Elijah. I can't cause them trouble. I took her face in my hands. Naomi, look at me. Look into my eyes. Slowly, she lifted her gaze. In those tired eyes, in those wrinkles that suffering had deepened, I saw the woman I had loved all my life. But I also saw something I never should have allowed: defeat. You are not causing them any trouble, I said firmly. They caused it to you, and that ends today. I stood up and turned back to my son and daughter-in-law, who were staring at us with a mix of disbelief and fury. 1 hour, I repeated. If you don't leave peacefully, I will call the police. and have you removed by force. This is my house. It is in my name, and you have no legal right to be here. Chandra pointed a finger at me, trembling with rage. You're going to regret this. Jamal is your son. We are your family. Family doesn't humiliate. Family doesn't turn a mother into a servant. You are not family. You are parasites. The words left my mouth like knives. Jamal went pale. Chandra opened her mouth to retort, but I raised a hand. I don't want to hear another word. Get out. They scrambled up the stairs, slamming doors and shouting at each other. I didn't care. All I cared about was Naomi, who was still trembling on the floor. I helped her stand carefully. I embraced her. I felt her body, thinner than I remembered, shake with silent sobs. Forgive me, she whispered against my chest. Forgive me for not telling you anything. I didn't want to worry you. You were working so hard. No, I interrupted her. Don't apologize. None of this is your fault. None of it. But deep down, I knew it was partly my fault. For being absent. For not calling more often. For blindly trusting that my son would take care of his mother. 35 years ago, when Naomi and I met, she worked at a small downtown bookstore. I had just started my first business, selling auto parts out of a borrowed space. I had nothing. She had nothing. But we had dreams. We got married in a simple ceremony with 20 guests and a cake her mom baked. Our honeymoon was a weekend in a tiny cabin rental in the Appalachian Mountains. We didn't care. We were happy. We worked like animals for years. I built the business. She worked by day and studied by night until she got pregnant with Jamal and had to drop everything. She didn't complain, never complained. When the company began to grow, we bought this house. It was smaller then, just 2 bedrooms. Over time, we expanded it, remodeled it. Every brick, every piece of furniture was placed with our effort. And now, this same house, our refuge, had become a prison for her. I led her to the sea, brought her water, and sat beside her, holding her hand. Her fingers were rough, calloused in ways I didn't remember. Her nails were short, unpainted, the hands of someone who had worked without rest. How did all this start? I asked softly. Tell me, Naomi. I need to know. She took a deep breath, wiping her tears with the back of her hand. At first, they just wanted to stay a few months. They said they were saving up to buy a bigger house. I was happy to have them here. The house felt less empty without you and the kids. And then Chandra started asking me to help with a few things. If I could wash her laundry, if I could cook dinner, because she got tired coming home from work. I didn't mind, Elijah. They're my family. But after that, it became more. If I could clean her room, if I could iron Jamal's clothes for work. Her voice broke. She had to pause for a moment to catch her breath. One day, she continued, I came home from grocery shopping and found that apron on my bed with a note that read, so you don't stain your clothes while you clean. Chandra left it there. She laughed it off like it was a joke, but Jamal was right there, and he didn't say anything. Nothing, Elijah. My own son didn't say a thing. I closed my eyes. The rage was a living animal inside my chest, trying to claw its way out. Why didn't you call me? Why didn't you tell me? Because I thought it was temporary. I thought they would leave soon. And you were so stressed with work, with the contracts, with everything. I didn't want to be one more burden. Naomi, you have never been a burden. Never. But I felt like it, she whispered. I felt useless, old, without purpose. You were overseas doing important things. The kids had their lives. What was I? Just a 59-year-old woman with no job, no finished degree, nothing. I squeezed her hand hard. You are my wife. You are the mother of my children. You are the strongest woman I know. And if anyone made you feel less than that, they will pay for it. Upstairs, we heard more slamming and shouting. Jamal and Chandra packing their things in a fit of anger. I didn't care if they yelled all they wanted. Naomi looked at me with tired eyes. And now what's going to happen? I remained silent for a moment, looking around the living room. This house we built together, this life we raised with so much effort. And I realized something important. Everything can be rebuilt, except dignity. Once someone takes that from you, once they teach you that your place is on your knees, something inside you dies. But I wasn't going to let Naomi die inside. Now, I said slowly, we are going to get your life back. We are going to reclaim everything they took from you. She shook her head. It's too late, Elijah. I'm too old. Don't say that, I cut her off. Don't you ever say that again. You are 59 years old. You have a whole life ahead of you. And I am going to make sure you live it with the dignity you always deserved. Just then, they came down the stairs. Jamal and Chandra were hauling suitcases, bags, and boxes. Their faces were red with fury. I hope you're happy, Jamal spat out. Kicking your own son out on the street over a stupid scene made by your wife. I jumped to my feet. Jamal instinctively backed up. Finish that sentence, I said in a low voice. Dare to finish it, and you'll meet a version of me you don't want to see. Chandra yanked Jamal's arm. Let's go. This old man is crazy. You'll see. In a week he'll be begging us to come back. They walked toward the door. Jamal stopped for a moment. He turned to look at his mother, still small and broken on the sofa. Mom? He started. Go, I said, before he could continue. You've caused enough damage. The door slammed shut with a bang that echoed throughout the house. Silence. A deep, heavy silence that was somehow better than all the noise before. I sat down next to Naomi again. She was crying silently, her shoulders shaking. You made our son leave? She whispered. No, I corrected her. He decided to leave when he decided to treat you like dirt. I just showed him the door. We spent the rest of the evening like that, holding each other on the sofa. At some point, Naomi fell asleep, physically and emotionally exhausted. I stayed awake, staring at the ceiling, thinking. I thought about all of the decisions that had led me to that moment. About the years I spent working away, convinced I was doing the best for my family. About how while I was building a financial empire, my wife was being emotionally destroyed in her own home. There's a phrase my father told me when I started my first business. You can build the tallest building in the world, but if you build it on sand, the first tremor will bring it down. I had built an empire on sand. I had assumed that love, that family, that blood ties were enough to hold everything together. But I was wrong, because sometimes blood isn't enough. Sometimes children forget that their parents are people too. with feelings, with dignity, with limits. And when those limits are crossed, when that dignity is trampled, well, then you have to make hard choices. Naomi stirred in her sleep, murmuring something incomprehensible. Carefully, I repositioned her and placed a blanket over her. She looked so fragile, so tired. But I also saw something else in her face. A glimpse of peace I hadn't seen in months. I got up and walked through the house. I surveyed it, as if for the first time. Every room told a story. The kitchen, where Naomi taught me how to make sweet potato pie. The living room, where we celebrated every one of the children's birthdays. The backyard, where we planted that peach tree that now shaded half the deck. I went up to the second floor. The room Jamal and Chandra had occupied was a disaster. Clothes thrown everywhere, drawers open, trash on the floor. They had left everything as if they were passing tourists, not family. On the nightstand, there was a photo, a picture from Jamal's wedding. Naomi and I were there, smiling with our son in the middle. He looked so happy, so full of promise. What had happened? When did he become this man capable of humiliating his own mother? I had no answers, only questions and a rage I didn't know how to process. I went back downstairs. Naomi was still asleep. I sat beside her, watching her breathe. 59 years old, 35 years of marriage, a lifetime together, and we still had time left. Time to rebuild, time to heal. But first, there were accounts to settle. I took out my phone and dialed a number I knew by heart. "Hayes," a familiar voice answered. "Hector, it's Elijah. I need you to come to my house first thing tomorrow morning. There are documents we need to review." "Everything all right, Elijah?" "It will be." I hung up. I looked at my phone. I had 32 missed calls from Jamal, 20 text messages. I deleted them all without reading them because some things have no going back. Words once spoken cannot be erased. Actions once committed mark a point of no return. My son had crossed that point, and now he was going to understand that decisions have consequences. All decisions. The dawn entered through the windows with a soft light that illuminated Naomi's face. She had slept all night on the sofa, curled up under the blanket. I stayed awake, sitting in the armchair opposite, watching over her, as if I was afraid she might disappear. At 7 in the morning, the doorbell rang. It was Hector Hayes, my attorney of 15 years, a serious, meticulous man, the kind who doesn't ask unnecessary questions. I opened the door carefully, not to wake Naomi. "Good morning, Elijah." He greeted me with a firm handshake. "You look terrible." "I feel worse," I admitted. "Come in." We sat down in the dining room. I pulled out all the documents I kept in my home office. The house deed, company papers, bank accounts, wills, everything. Hector reviewed each paper with professional attention, making notes in his notepad. "What exactly do you want to do?" he finally asked. I told him everything, every detail of what I had found upon my return. The apron, the humiliation, the 2 years of silent servitude. Hector listened without interruption, but I saw his jaw tighten. "I understand," he said when I finished. "And I understand why you called me. You want to protect Naomi. I want more than that. I want to make sure that no one, ever again, can hurt her. Not even our own children." Hector nodded slowly. There are several things we can do. First, change the will. Second, establish an irrevocable trust for Naomi. Third, document everything that has happened in case your son attempts any legal action. Do all of that, I said without hesitation. And there's something else I want. What? The companies. I want to transfer 40% of the shares into Naomi's name, immediately. Hector raised his eyebrows. Elijah, that's a very significant decision. Are you sure? Completely. Naomi sacrificed 35 years of her life so I could build those companies. It's time she received what always belonged to her. And for Jamal? I stared at the papers scattered across the table. My son's name appeared in several documents. Principal beneficiary of the will, future heir to the companies. Everything I had built was going to be his someday. But that was before he decided to turn his mother into a servant. For Jamal, I said slowly, nothing, absolutely nothing, until he proves he deserves anything. Hector took a deep breath. You're going to unleash a war. You know that, right? Let him come. I'm ready. We worked for 3 hours. I signed papers, made transfers. I changed beneficiaries. When we finished, Naomi was already awake, watching us from the dining room entrance with a confused look. What are you doing? She asked in a small voice. I stood up and walked toward her. We're fixing mistakes I should have corrected a long time ago. Hector greeted Naomi respectfully, packed his documents, and took his leave, promising to have everything finalized in 48 hours. When he was gone, Naomi looked at me with eyes full of questions. Elijah, what did you do? I took her hand and led her back to the dining room. I showed her the papers, explaining every change. I watched her eyes widen with each detail. But this is too much, she whispered. The companies, the house, everything. I don't need it. Yes, you do need it, I interrupted her. You need to know that you will never depend on anyone again, that no one can ever treat you as they did. This is not a gift, Naomi. This is justice. She started crying again, but this time it was different. It wasn't the broken cry from yesterday. It was something deeper, as if years of pain were finally pouring out all at once. I don't know what to say, she sobbed. Don't say anything. Just promise me one thing. What? That you will never again put the needs of others before your own dignity. That you will never again allow anyone, not even our children, to make you feel small. She nodded, embracing me tightly. We spent the rest of the morning in silence, reorganizing the house. I went up to the room Jamal and Chandra had used. I picked up all the trash they left behind. I washed the sheets. I opened the windows to let in fresh air. I transformed that space back into what it was before, a clean, orderly guest room. In the process, I found things that made my blood boil. Receipts for extremely expensive restaurants, concert tickets, designer clothes with the tags still on, all paid for with the credit cards I had given them for emergencies. While they were spending my money on luxuries, Naomi was scrubbing floors with shattered knees. I came downstairs with a box full of all those things. I left it by the entrance. If Jamal comes for his things, he can take this too, I told Naomi. I want him to see exactly what he was spending his time on while you were working like a slave. Naomi looked at the box with sadness. He was our son, Elijah, our baby. How did we get to this point? It was a question I had been asking myself all night. Where did we go wrong? At what point did our son go from being a loving child to a man capable of such cruelty? We spoiled him, I said, finally. We gave him everything. We never told him no. We never taught him that things are earned through effort, not divine right. But I thought that if we gave him love, if we gave him opportunities, love without limits isn't love, Naomi. It's complicity. And we were complicit in turning him into someone who believes the world owes him something. She wiped her tears with the back of her hand. Do you think he'll ever forgive us for this? The question hurt because I knew the answer. I don't know, but I won't ask for his forgiveness for protecting you. If that makes me the villain in his story, so be it. That afternoon, while Naomi rested, I sat in my office and reviewed the bank records for the last 2 years. Every transaction, every movement. What I discovered left me breathless. Jamal had been withdrawing money from a joint account I held with Naomi. They weren't huge amounts, nothing that immediately drew attention. 500 here, 1,000 there. But adding it all up, he had taken almost $50,000 in 2 years. $50,000 I sent for Naomi to live comfortably while I was overseas. I called the bank and requested the authorization records. It turned out Naomi had signed every withdrawal. But when I asked to see copies of the signatures, something didn't match. The handwriting was similar, but not identical. Too firm, too confident to be the trembling hand of someone being manipulated. I called Naomi into the office and showed her the documents. Did you sign these withdrawals? She looked at the papers and her face went pale. I did, but Chandra told me it was for house expenses, to pay utilities, groceries, things like that. Naomi, look at the dates. This $2,000 withdrawal was the same day I found receipts for a $500 restaurant bill. This $100 was the same week they bought tickets for a concert in Las Vegas. She put her hands over her mouth. Oh my God, I thought they told me. They lied to you. They used you. They took your money, your time, your dignity, and turned it into vacations and luxuries for themselves. Naomi slumped into the chair, her face buried in her hands. Her body shook with silent sobs. I knelt beside her, holding her steady. I am so sorry, she whispered. I was so stupid. You weren't stupid. You were manipulated. There is a difference. But I should have realized. I should have asked you. I should have... Stop, I said firmly. Stop blaming yourself for the wickedness of others. They did this. They are responsible, not you. That night, I received the first call from Jamal. I let it ring until it went to voicemail. Then I got messages. First, trying the guilt route. Dad, Mom is so sad. Is this what you want? To destroy your family? Then came the veiled threats. I hope you know what you're doing. Chandra is talking to her lawyer. This could get ugly. And finally, the desperate plea. Dad, please. We have nowhere to go. Just give us another chance. I deleted every message without replying because the words no longer meant anything. The opportunities had run out the moment they placed that apron on Naomi. The next day, Hector returned with more documents. Naomi and I signed everything necessary. When we finished, my wife was officially co-owner of 40% of my companies. Millions of dollars in assets were now in her name. How does it feel? Hector asked her with a smile. Naomi looked at the papers as if they were alien objects. I feel scared. I don't know anything about business. I don't know how to handle this. You're going to learn, I told her, and I'm going to teach you. You won't depend on anyone, Naomi, ever again. That afternoon, we went to the bank. We opened new accounts solely in her name. We transferred money, configured cards. The manager attended to us personally, patiently explaining every detail to Naomi. When we left, she carried a black card in her wallet. A card with her name, her money, her freedom. I don't know what to do with all this, she confessed as we walked toward the car. Do whatever you want. Buy what makes you happy. Travel. Study. Pick up those dreams you put away 30 years ago. Life isn't over, Naomi. It's just starting again. She looked at me with bright eyes. Do you really believe that? I know it. That night, we had dinner at a fancy downtown restaurant. It had been years since we went out alone. No kids, no obligations, no rush. We ordered wine, expensive food, dessert. Naomi looked beautiful in a dress she had bought that same afternoon with her own money, without having to ask anyone's permission. I feel strange, she admitted as she sipped her wine, like I'm doing something wrong. Wrong? Why? Because Jamal is out there not knowing what to do, and we're here having dinner as if nothing happened. I put my fork down on the plate. Naomi, look at me. Jamal is a grown man of 32. He has an education, experience, contacts. If he wanted to, he could get a job tomorrow. The problem isn't that he can't. The problem is that he doesn't want to. He's used to living off us without effort. But he is our son, and you are my wife. And for 2 years, while he lived comfortably in our house, he turned you into his servant. When are you going to draw a line, Naomi? When are you going to say, enough? She lowered her gaze, fidgeting with the napkin in her hands. I'm scared, she whispered. I'm scared of losing him forever. Sometimes, I said gently, you have to be willing to lose something to know if you truly have it. If Jamal loves us, if he truly values this family, he will understand what he did and find a way to fix it. But if not, then he was never ours to begin with. That night, when we returned home, someone was waiting at the door. It was Chandra, my daughter-in-law, alone, her eyes red from crying, her makeup smeared. I got out of the car slowly. Naomi stayed inside, watching from the window. What are you doing here? I asked in a cold voice. Mr. Sterling, please, I need to talk to you. Her voice sounded desperate. We have nothing to talk about. Please. She took a step closer. Just 5 minutes. I beg you. I looked toward the car. Naomi shook her head, but something in Chandra's expression made me hesitate. She wasn't the same arrogant, condescending woman from 2 days ago. This person in front of me looked broken. 5 minutes, I said finally, and don't you dare go near Naomi. Chandra nodded quickly. We sat down on the front porch steps. She wrung her hands, not knowing where to begin. I know I did everything wrong, she began with a trembling voice. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I need you to know that I didn't know. You didn't know what? I interrupted her. You didn't know you were humiliating a 59-year-old woman? You didn't know that apron was cruel? You didn't know you were stealing her money? She started crying. I grew up like that. My mother always did everything at home. I thought it was normal. I thought Naomi wanted to help. That's a lie. It's true. She raised her voice. I never had a mother who taught me how to be different. My mom worked 3 jobs. She was never home. I had to take care of my siblings since I was 12. When I met Jamal, when I saw everything you had, I thought I could finally rest, that someone else could carry everything. At Naomi's expense. Yes, she admitted between sobs. Yes, and it was wrong, very wrong, but I didn't know how to do things better. I just stared at her. Part of me wanted to send her away, but another, smaller part remembered that this woman was also a product of her own history, of her own wounds. Where is Jamal? I asked. In a motel. We spent almost everything we had on the reservation. I don't know what we're going to do next. And does he understand what he did? Chandra was quiet for a moment too long. I don't know. He's angry. He says you're exaggerating, that we contributed too, that Naomi never complained. There's your answer, I said, standing up. As long as he doesn't understand, there's nothing more to discuss. But, Mr. Sterling, time's up. I pointed toward the street. Go, Chandra. And don't come back until your husband is ready for a real conversation. Not excuses, not justifications, just truth. She stood up slowly, wiping her tears. Can I talk to Naomi? Just to apologize? No, I said no. Naomi has heard enough lies. When you're ready to tell the truth, to accept your responsibility without buts or justifications, then maybe. But not before. Chandra nodded slowly and began to walk toward the street. She stopped halfway and turned around. My mom used to tell me that you don't know what you have until you lose it, she said in a broken voice. I lost everything, didn't I? I didn't answer. I just watched her walk away into the darkness of the night. When I entered the house, Naomi was by the window, looking outside. What did she want? Forgiveness, or at least something that looked like forgiveness. And you? I have nothing to forgive. That forgiveness has to come from you. If you ever decide she deserves it. Naomi turned to me with tears in her eyes. I don't know if I can forgive her. I don't know if I can forgive either of them. You don't have to decide today or tomorrow or next month. Forgiveness has no deadline. That night, lying in our bed, Naomi confessed something that broke my heart. There were days, she whispered in the dark, when I thought about leaving, about packing a suitcase and just disappearing. But I had nowhere to go. I had no money. I had nothing. I felt trapped. In my own home. I hugged her tighter. You'll never feel that way again. I promise you. But what if it happens again? What if I'm weak again? You're not weak, Naomi. You're human. And humans make mistakes. But we learn from those mistakes. And I'm going to be here by your side to make sure you never have to face anything alone. We stayed like that, holding each other in silence as the world outside kept turning. I knew this wasn't over, that Jamal would eventually come back, that there would be more difficult conversations, more tears, more pain. But I also knew something more important, that Naomi was no longer alone, that she was no longer the broken woman I found on her knees on the floor. Something in her was beginning to change. Something was waking up. And I was going to be there to watch that transformation bloom. Because after 35 years of marriage, of shared sacrifices and efforts, she finally deserved to live a life where no one made her feel small. She deserved the dignity she should have always had, and I was going to make sure she got it, even if I had to burn everything else down to achieve it. 1 week after the day I kicked Jamal out of the house, Naomi started to change. It wasn't an immediate change, not one of those that happens overnight. It was gradual, like the sunrise. First, it was her posture. She stopped walking hunched over, her shoulders slumped. Then, it was her voice. She stopped whispering, stopped asking permission for every little thing. And finally, it was her eyes. They regained that sparkle I remembered from when we first met, more than 30 years ago. One morning, I found her in the kitchen, not cleaning or preparing something for someone else, but sitting quietly with a cup of coffee, reading the newspaper. "Good morning," I greeted her. She looked up and smiled at me, a real smile, not one of those forced ones I had seen for months on video calls. "Good morning, love. Did you sleep well?" "Like I haven't slept in years," I admitted, sitting down next to her. "And you?" "All night, without waking up, even once." We stayed like that, in comfortable silence, drinking coffee. It was strange how something so simple could feel so extraordinary after everything that had happened. "I was thinking," Naomi said suddenly, "about what you said the other day, about taking back my dreams." "Yes." "Do you remember I wanted to study architecture?" "Of course. You had passed all of your exams when you got pregnant with Jamal." She nodded, looking at her coffee cup with a thoughtful expression. "I never regretted quitting my studies. Being a mom was the best thing that ever happened to me. But there was always a part of me that wondered, what might have happened if—" "Well, now you can find out," I interrupted her. "You are 59 years old, not 90. If you want to study architecture, study architecture. At my age, Elijah, I'd be the grandmother of all the students. So what? Since when do you care what other people think?" She laughed, a genuine laugh that filled my chest with warmth. "You're right. Since when do I care?" That same afternoon, we went to the local university. Naomi asked for information about the architecture program. The secretary, a young woman of about 25, looked at her strangely. "Ma'am, excuse me, is the information for you or for a family member?" "For me," Naomi replied firmly. "Ah." The girl blinked a few times. "Well, of course. Yes, we have students of all ages, although most are young, 18 to 20 years old." "She didn't ask that," I cut in. "Just give us the enrollment information." We left there with brochures, requirements, and dates. Naomi was quiet, but I could see ideas moving at full speed in her head. "What are you thinking?" I asked as we walked toward the parking lot. "I'm thinking maybe I can do it. Maybe it's not too late." "It's never too late to be who you were meant to be from the start." I had heard that phrase somewhere. I couldn't remember where, but I felt like Naomi needed to hear it. The following days were different. Naomi started filling out enrollment forms, looking up information about the subjects, getting excited about something that wasn't cleaning, cooking, or serving others. I, for my part, dedicated myself to reorganizing the companies. I called my partners, the managers, and explained that I would be permanently back in the States. Some were surprised, others were happy, but they all understood that things were going to change. I also dedicated myself to finding a good therapist for Naomi. She needed professional help to process all the damage she had suffered. At first, she resisted. "I'm not crazy, Elijah. I don't need a therapist." "It's not because you're crazy. It's to heal, so that a professional can help you understand that none of what happened was your fault." She finally accepted. She started going twice a week. She didn't tell me much about what they talked about in the sessions, but I noticed the changes. More confidence, less guilt, less fear. It was in the third week that I received an unexpected call. It was my daughter, Keisha, who lived in Atlanta, Georgia, with her husband and their 2 children. I hadn't called her to tell her what had happened with Jamal. I didn't want to drag her into the middle of the family conflict, but apparently Jamal already had. "Dad," her voice sounded annoyed, "is it true you kicked Jamal out of the house?" "Hello, Keisha. Yes, it's true." "And is it true you took away all his money and changed the will?" "That is also true." "What were you thinking?" "He's your son, my brother." I took a deep breath. I knew this conversation would come eventually. "Keisha, did your brother tell you why I kicked him out?" "He said you came home from your trip in a bad mood and overreacted because Mom was helping with the household chores." "Helping?" I let out a bitter laugh. "Daughter, your brother turned your mother into his domestic employee for 2 years. He gave her an apron that said housekeeping staff and made her scrub floors on her knees while he and his wife spent your mom's money on restaurants and trips." Silence on the other end of the line. "Dad, that can't be true." "Ask your mother, call her, listen to her, and then you tell me if I'm overreacting. I need to talk to Mom." "Do it, but do it alone, without Jamal pressuring or manipulating the conversation." She hung up without saying goodbye. A few minutes later, Naomi's phone started ringing. It was Keisha. Naomi looked at me in a panic. "I don't know what to tell her." "Tell her the truth. Just the truth." Naomi answered and went into another room. They talked for almost 2 hours. When she finally hung up, Naomi's eyes were red, but there was also an expression of relief on her face. "What happened, huh?" I asked. I told her everything. Absolutely everything. At first, she didn't believe me. She thought you had put ideas in my head. But when I told her details, only I could know, when I described exactly then how I felt every day, she started to cry. She said she was sorry, that she should have been more attentive, that she should have visited more often, that she should have noticed the signs. I told her it wasn't her fault, that she has her own life, her own kids. But I think she feels bad. "We all feel bad," I said. "We all failed to see you." Naomi shook her head. "No, Elijah, you didn't fail. You were working to give us a good life. Jamal failed. Chandra failed. I failed by allowing it. Stop blaming yourself." "I'm not blaming myself. I'm accepting my responsibility." "There's a difference." My therapist explained it to me. I stared at her, surprised by the clarity with which she spoke. "I like this new version of you," I said with a smile. I do too. 2 days later, Keisha arrived in town without warning. She knocked on the door on a quarter-day morning with her 2 kids, 6 and 8 years old. Naomi opened it and froze when she saw her. "Mom," Keisha said with a trembling voice, "I came to see you." They hugged in the doorway, both crying. The children ran in shouting, "Grandma! Grandpa!" with that overflowing energy only kids have. We spent the day together. Keisha didn't mention Jamal once. She just focused on being with her mother, listening to her, watching her. At some point in the afternoon, while the children were playing in the backyard, Keisha approached me. "Dad, I didn't know. I really didn't know things were that bad." "I know, honey. If I had known, if I had visited more, if I had paid attention. You can't change the past, but you can be here now." "Mom is doing well? She looks different." "She is healing. Slowly, but surely." Keisha looked toward where Naomi was playing with her grandchildren, in the backyard. A simple, beautiful scene that had been impossible for 2 years because Naomi was too busy serving Jamal and Chandra. "I talked to Jamal after I talked to Mom," Keisha confessed in a low voice. "And he got angry. He told me you two were brainwashing me, that Mom is exaggerating everything, that he always treated her well. I told him that was a lie, that Mom told me things she couldn't have made up. He got furious. He told me that if I supported you, we were no longer brother and sister." "I'm sorry, Keisha." "Don't be sorry." She looked at me intently. "He decided that, not me. I just decided to be on the right side." I felt proud of my daughter in that moment, proud that despite the family pressure, she had chosen the truth. Keisha stayed the whole weekend. On Sunday night, before she left, she asked Naomi for something. "Mom, I want you to come to Atlanta. Stay for a week, 2 weeks. As long as you want. The kids miss you. I miss you. And I think it would do you good to be away from all this for a while." Naomi looked at me, seeking my approval. I nodded. "Go, enjoy your grandkids. I'll stay here to deal with some pending matters." "Are you sure?" "Completely." Naomi left for Atlanta with Keisha on Monday morning. I was alone in the house, but I didn't feel lonely. For the first time in weeks, I felt like things were starting to settle. I took advantage of those days to do something I had been putting off, clearing my conscience with the rest of the family. I called my brothers, my cousins, everyone who mattered. I told them what had happened. The reactions were varied. Some supported me unconditionally. Others thought I had overreacted. One of my brothers, Marcus, told me something that made me think. "Elijah, I understand you're angry, but that boy is your son. Kids make mistakes. Are you really going to destroy your relationship with him over this?" "I'm not destroying anything, Marcus. He destroyed his relationship with us when he decided to humiliate his mother. I'm just enforcing consequences. Consequences can be very expensive, brother. Sometimes it's better to forgive and move on. I will not forgive at the expense of Naomi's dignity. If Jamal wants my forgiveness, he has to earn it first." It was during those solitary days that I received another unexpected visit. This time, it was Chandra again, but she wasn't alone. She brought her mother, a woman in her 60s, thin, her face marked by years of hard work. "Mr. Sterling," Chandra said from the gate, "please just listen to us. My mom wants to talk to you." I hesitated. But something in the older woman's expression made me open the door. We sat in the living room. Chandra's mother looked uncomfortable, wringing her hands in her lap. "Sir," she began in a soft voice, "my daughter told me what happened. Everything, and I came to apologize to you." "You? Why?" "Because I taught my daughter wrong. I worked so hard, all my life, that I was never there for her. I never taught her to value women, to respect mothers, to understand that having help doesn't mean having slaves. Chandra grew up seeing me kill myself working, without complaining, and she thought that was normal, that women were supposed to endure everything. Ma'am, with all due respect, that is not my problem. I know, but I came because I need you to know that Chandra is remorseful. She really is going to therapy. She's trying to understand her mistakes. I'm not asking you to forgive her. I just want you to know she's doing the work to change. And Jamal? Is he also doing that work?" Chandra lowered her gaze. He still doesn't get it. He's still angry. He still thinks you exaggerated." "Then there's nothing to talk about," I said, standing up. "As long as my son doesn't acknowledge what he did, as long as he doesn't take real responsibility for his actions, there's no way to fix this." "Please, Mr. Sterling." Chandra's mother stood up too. "Give him time. Men are more stubborn about accepting their mistakes, but with time, I've waited long enough. 32 years I waited for my son to become a good man, and instead, he became someone capable of humiliating his own mother. If he wants to change, fine. But he's going to have to prove it with actions, not with words." They left in silence. But before going out, Chandra turned one last time. "Can I ask you something?" "What?" "How is Mrs. Sterling?" "She's doing well, better than she's been in years." "I'm glad." Her voice broke. "I really am glad. She didn't deserve any of what we did to her." I didn't answer. I just closed the door. Naomi returned from Atlanta a week later with rosy cheeks and bright eyes. Keisha had kept her word. She had given her mother a week of peace, of laughter, of feeling like a grandmother and not a servant. "I missed you," she said upon arriving, hugging me tight. "I missed you too. How was everything?" "Wonderful. Keisha is so good to me. The kids are sweethearts. We went to the park. We cooked together. We talked about everything. I feel renewed." "You look renewed." That night, while we were having dinner, Naomi told me something that took me by surprise. Keisha convinced me of something. "Of what?" "To enroll in the university. She helped me fill out the forms. She went with me to get copies of my documents. Next semester, I'm starting to study architecture." I stared at her, my fork halfway to my mouth. "Seriously?" "Seriously. I'm 59 years old, and I'm going back to school. What do you think?" "I think it's perfect." She smiled, but then her expression turned serious. "Elijah, there's something else we need to talk about." "What is it?" "Jamal. We can't avoid it forever. He's our son. Eventually, we'll have to face him." "I know, but it has to be on our terms, not his." "And what are our terms?" I leaned back in my chair, thinking. That he accepts what he did, that he truly apologizes, without excuses, that he understands things will never go back to the way they were. and that he earns our respect again with actions, not with words. And if he can't do it, then we will have to accept that we lost a son, or rather, that we never had the son we thought we had. Naomi nodded slowly. Sometimes I think I was too hard to let him leave like that, without saying anything, just staying quiet while you kicked him out. Naomi, don't start with the guilt again. It's not guilt. It's sadness. Sadness that things came to this point. I know, I'm sad too, but sadness doesn't change what happened. It doesn't erase the pain he caused you. Only time and work can do that. Do you think we can be a family again someday? I don't know, I admitted. But if it happens, it will be a different family. One where your dignity is non-negotiable. One where no one makes you feel small ever again. That night, lying in bed, I dreamt of the past. Of Jamal when he was a little boy. When he hugged me and said, "Daddy, I want to be like you when I grow up." Of the afternoons playing football in the yard. Of the family dinners where we all laughed together. When did everything break? At what point did my son stop seeing me as an example and start seeing me as an ATM? At what point did he stop seeing his mother as a person and start seeing her as a servant? I had no answers. I only had pain, a deep pain that no amount of money or professional success could cure. But I also had something else. Hope. Hope that Naomi would find her way again. Hope that Keisha would stay close. Hope that maybe someday Jamal would wake up and understand the magnitude of what he had lost. And if it didn't happen, well, I would have to learn to live with that. Because some things in life have no solution. Some wounds don't heal completely. Some children get lost along the way. But that doesn't mean you give up. It doesn't mean you accept humiliation, abuse, or lack of respect. It means you learn to live with the scars, and that you protect the ones you love, no matter the cost. Even if that means facing your own children. Even if that means burning bridges you once thought were unbreakable. Because at the end of the day, family is not defined by blood. It is defined by respect. And without respect, there is no family worth keeping. 3 months passed. 3 months during which life took a different rhythm. Naomi started her classes at the university, and I had never seen her so excited. She came home with bright eyes, telling me about products, about classmates 30 years younger than her, about demanding professors. At first, the other students looked at her with curiosity, but soon she earned their respect. Naomi was always intelligent. She just never had the opportunity to prove it. I reorganized my companies so I could stay in the States permanently. I delegated more responsibilities, hired better managers, and learned to trust my team. I discovered that I could be successful without sacrificing my personal life. How ironic that it took me nearly 60 years to learn that. Keisha visited us every 2 weeks with the children. The relationship with our daughter had strengthened in a way I never imagined. She and Naomi talked on the phone almost every day. Finally, my wife had the support she should have always had. From Jamal, nothing. Absolute silence. Until one afternoon in October, while Naomi and I were having coffee in the backyard, the doorbell rang. I got up to open it, and there he was. My son looked different, thinner, deep circles under his eyes, his clothes wrinkled, his hands in his pockets, his gaze fixed on the ground, and nothing like the arrogant man I had kicked out of my house 3 months prior. "Dad?" His voice was barely a whisper. I didn't say anything. I just stood there in the doorway, waiting. Can I come in? I need to talk to you, with Mom, with both of you. No. He looked up, surprised. What? I said no. You can't come in. If you want to talk from there. I saw his eyes fill with tears. Dad, please. Elijah, who is it? Naomi's voice came from the backyard. It's Jamal. Silence. Then I heard her footsteps approaching. She appeared behind me, her face pale. She stood staring at her son from the safe distance I represented. Mom. Jamal took a step forward, but I raised a hand, stopping him. From there, I repeated. Whatever you have to say it from there. Jamal swallowed. Tears were now streaming freely down his cheeks. I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I'm sorry for everything I did, everything I allowed, everything I didn't see. Mom, you didn't deserve any of what we did to you. None of it. Naomi didn't say anything. She just looked at him with an expression I couldn't decipher. I've been in therapy, Jamal continued, for 2 months. Chandra too. It took us time, a lot of time, to really understand what we did. I kept justifying myself, kept looking for excuses, kept blaming everyone but myself. But my therapist made me see things I didn't want to see. What things? Naomi asked in a trembling voice. That I became a parasite. That I treated you as if you were my property, not my mother. That I took everything you and Dad built and wasted it on whims while you worked like a slave in your own house. That apron, God, Mom, that damned apron. He broke down, dropping to his knees on the porch, sobbing with his face in his hands. I saw it, Mom. In therapy, they made me write down everything I did to you, every single thing. And when I got to the apron, when I remembered your face that day, Dad arrived and found you like that, I realized that I'm a monster, a complete monster. I felt Naomi trembling beside me. I put my arm around her, holding her steady. Keep talking, I said in a firm voice. You're not finished. Jamal looked up, his face soaked with tears. I lost my job a month ago. Chandra and I separated 2 weeks ago. I'm living in a rented room, working at a supermarket stocking shelves because it's the only thing I could get. I have nothing, Dad. Nothing. And the worst part is that I realized I don't deserve anything. That everything I had was thanks to you, and I threw it in the trash. Did you come back because you lost everything? I asked. Or did you come back because you really understand what you did? I came back because... He paused, taking a deep breath. Because I can't live with myself knowing that I hurt the person who loved me most in this world. I came back because even if you never forgive me, even if I never become part of this family again, I need Mom to know that I understand, that I finally understand. Naomi broke free of my arm and slowly walked toward where Jamal was kneeling. I was ready to stop her if necessary. She stopped 3 feet away from him. Look at me, she said in a firm voice. Jamal looked up. Look closely, Naomi repeated. Do you see this woman in front of you? This is no longer the woman you knew. This woman no longer kneels for anyone. This woman no longer asks for forgiveness for existing. This woman no longer makes herself small so that others can feel big. I know, Mom, and I'm glad. I'm glad Dad rescued you from me. Your father didn't rescue me, Naomi corrected him. I rescued myself. Your father only reminded me that I had the right to do it. Jamal nodded, more tears falling. For 32 years, Naomi continued, I gave you everything. My time, my energy, my dreams, my life. I stopped being me to be your mom, and I don't regret that. But you took that sacrifice and turned it into something ugly. You taught me that unconditional love can be dangerous when the other person doesn't value it. You're right, totally right. But you also taught me something else. My voice softened slightly. You taught me that I need boundaries, that I need to value myself before valuing others, that love without respect is garbage. She knelt in front of him, meeting him at his level. I took a step forward instinctively, but she raised a hand, stopping me. You are my son, Naomi said. You will always be my son? That doesn't change. But the son I knew, the sweet boy who hugged my legs and told me I was the best mom in the world, that boy died a long time ago. And in his place is a man I have to get to know again. A man who has to prove to me, not with words, but with actions, that he deserves to be in my life. How? Jamal asked desperately. How can I prove it to you? I don't know, Naomi admitted. But you're going to have to find that out yourself, because I'm not going to do the work for you anymore. I'm not going to make things easy for you anymore. I'm not going to be the one who fixes everything. This time, if you want your family back, you're going to have to fight for it. Naomi stood up. Jamal remained kneeling, looking up at her as if it were the first time he had truly seen her. Your father and I, she continued, are going to carry on with our lives. I'm going to finish my degree. I'm going to travel. I'm going to do all the things I sacrificed for years. And maybe, just maybe, if you show that you really changed, that you really understand the damage you caused, we can build something new. Not what we had before, because that's broken forever, but something different. Something based on mutual respect. I'll do whatever it takes, Jamal promised. Whatever it takes. Then start by standing up, Naomi said. Start by getting off your knees, because that's how you had me for 2 years, and I wouldn't wish that on anyone, not even you. Jamal slowly got up. He looked at me, searching for something, some signal. Don't look at me, I told him. I made my decision 3 months ago. Now you have to earn your mother's forgiveness. And after that, maybe, just maybe, you can start earning mine. I understand. I really do. I took a step toward him. Do you understand that the will changed? That the companies are now in your mother's name? That even if we forgive you, you will never have what you had? Yes, and it's okay, because I never should have had it to begin with. And Chandra? She's working on herself too. She's going to therapy. She's looking for real work. She's trying to be a better person. I don't know if we'll ever get back together, but I know we both need to work on ourselves before we can work on any relationship. I nodded slowly. There was something different about my son. Something in his eyes, in his posture, in his voice. I didn't know if it was real or temporary. Time would tell. You can go, I told him. When you're ready, when you've done the real work of changing, call, but not before. We don't want empty promises. We want proof. You'll have it, Jamal said. Mom, Dad, thank you for not closing the door completely. I know I don't even deserve that. He walked away, slowly. We watched him until he disappeared around the corner. Naomi sighed deeply and leaned against me. Did I do the right thing? She finally asked. You did exactly what your heart told you to do, and that is always the right thing. It hurts, Elijah. My heart hurts seeing him like that. I know, my love, but the pain is part of the process, for him and for you. That night, Naomi couldn't sleep. I found her at 3 a.m. sitting in the backyard, looking at the stars. What's wrong? I asked, sitting down next to her. I'm thinking about everything. About the last 32 years. About where I went wrong as a mother. You didn't go wrong. You loved too much, maybe, but that's not a mistake. Yes, it is, she contradicted me, raising a hand. Because I taught him that he could take without giving, that he could receive without being thankful, that I would always be there, no matter how he treated me. For years, I thought being a good mother meant sacrificing everything. It meant putting myself last always. It meant having no needs of my own. But I was wrong because in doing that, I taught my son that women have no worth, that mothers are tools, not people. That wasn't your mistake. That was his mistake in interpreting it that way. But I allowed it for 2 years. I allowed it, Elijah. 2 years when I could have said enough. 2 years when I could have called you, could have left, could have done something. But I didn't because I was afraid. Afraid of what? Afraid of being alone. Afraid of being a burden. Afraid of being useless if I wasn't serving someone. I hugged her tightly as she cried silently. Never again, I whispered into her ear. You will never feel that fear again, because I will be here reminding you every day that you have worth, that you are important, that you deserve respect. And if Jamal doesn't change, if all this was just a show, then we'll learn to live without him. Because you and I, Naomi, we are enough. With Keisha, with the grandkids, with the life we are building now, we are enough. 6 more months passed. Jamal didn't call, didn't visit, didn't text, but we started receiving news of him through other people. Keisha told us he had gotten a better job, that he was paying his own bills, that he was going to therapy religiously. One day, a package arrived at the house. Inside, there was a letter and an envelope with cash. The letter read, Mom, Dad, this is the first payment of a debt I can never finish paying. It's $500, 10% of what I earn each month at my new job as an accountant at a medium-sized company. It's not much, but it's honest. It's mine. I'm not asking for forgiveness yet. I'm not asking you to let me come back. I'm just showing that I'm changing, that I'm working, that I understand things are earned, not inherited. I love you. I've always loved you. But I just didn't know how to show it without expecting something in return. Jamal. Naomi read the letter 3 times, tears falling onto the paper. What do we do with the money? She asked. We save it, I said, as evidence that he is keeping his word. But we don't reply yet. He needs to prove more. Every month, another envelope arrived. $500, without fail. Never a long letter, just a line. Monthly payment. I love you. Naomi started to change her attitude toward the situation. She didn't cry as much anymore. She didn't blame herself. She was busy with her classes, with her projects, with the life she was building. One day, she came home with exciting news. I passed all my first semester exams. I hugged her, lifting her off the floor as she laughed like a girl. I'm so proud of you. The design professor said I have natural talent. At 59 years old. Can you believe it? You always had talent. You just needed the opportunity to show it. That night, we celebrated with champagne and a fancy dinner. Naomi wore a new dress she had bought with her own money, with her own card. She looked radiant, beautiful, free. Do you know what the best part of all this is? She asked as we toasted. What? That I finally found myself. After 59 years of being someone's daughter, someone's wife, someone's mother, I'm finally Naomi, just Naomi. And I like who I am. I fell in love with that Naomi too, I told her. In fact, I'm falling in love again, as if for the first time. We kissed under the stars in our backyard, with the future open before us. Exactly 1 year after I kicked him out of the house, Jamal appeared again. This time, he didn't arrive alone. He carried a portfolio under his arm. Dad, Mom, he said from the gate, I came to show you something. I'm not asking to come in. I just want to show you what I've been working on. Naomi and I looked at each other. She nodded. We went out to the porch. Jamal opened the portfolio and pulled out some documents. I started a small business, very small, accounting consultancy for family businesses. I got my first 3 clients 6 months ago. Now I have 15. It's not much, but it's mine. I built it alone, without anyone's help, without Dad's last name, without his contacts, without his money, and we glanced at the papers. They were real. Bank statements, contracts, invoices, everything in order. Also, Jamal continued, I enrolled in a diploma course on emotional intelligence and healthy family relationships. I finished a month ago, and I started giving talks at community centers about the importance of valuing mothers, about how male entitlement hurts all of us. Naomi remained silent, looking at our son with incredulous eyes. Why? She finally asked. Why are you doing all this? Because I need to prove to you that I changed. Because I need to prove to myself that I can be better. And why? Because I want other men not to make the same mistakes I made. I want them to value their mothers before it's too late. And Chandra? We broke up permanently. She's working on herself too, but on separate paths. We realized our relationship was built on the wrong foundation. We both needed to grow alone before we could be with anyone. I stood there, looking at my son. 1 year ago, he was an arrogant, haughty man, incapable of seeing his own error. Now, in front of me was someone different, more humble, more aware, more human.
Impressive, I finally said. Truly. But I'm still waiting for more. I know. And I'm going to keep working. I'm going to keep proving it until you decide it's enough, or until it's never enough, as it should be. There's something I want to ask you, Naomi said, taking a step forward. And I want an honest answer. Anything, Mom. If your father and I decide to forgive you, if we decide to let you back into our lives, what guarantee do I have that you won't become the same man who put that apron on me? Jamal closed his eyes on taking a deep breath. I have no guarantee to give you, Mom. I only have my word. And I know my word isn't worth much after everything I did. But I promise you that every day I will fight against the man I was. Every day I will remind myself of the damage I caused. And every day I will work to be someone who deserves your love. Naomi looked at him for a long moment. Then she turned to me. What do you think? I think he's done the work. I don't know if it's enough, but he's done more than I expected. I think so too, Naomi said slowly. But there are conditions. Whatever they are, Jamal replied immediately. First, you never live in this house again. This is my house, my refuge, my safe space. I will not risk that. Understood? Second, the companies, the money, the inheritance. All that is no longer yours. Your father and I decided to donate a large part of our fortune to organizations that help women who are victims of family abuse. What remains will be for your sister Keisha and her children. You will have to build your own path. That seems fair to me. Third, if you ever disrespect me again, if you ever treat me as less than a person, there will be no second chance. You will lose me forever. Do you understand? Yes, Mom. I understand. Naomi extended her hand. Jamal looked at it, confused. Give me your hand, son. He obeyed, tears streaming down his cheeks. Naomi squeezed his hand tightly. Welcome back. But remember, this is not complete forgiveness. It's an opportunity, a last opportunity. Don't waste it. Jamal broke down, kneeling in front of his mother, crying like a child. Thank you, Mom. Thank you. I won't fail you. I swear. Naomi gently stroked his head. Get up. No more kneeling, neither mine nor yours. Get up and walk straight as the man you can be. That night, after Jamal left, Naomi and I sat in silence for a long time. Did I do the right thing? She finally asked. You did what your heart dictated. And that is always right. I'm afraid it will happen again. That he will hurt me again. If it happens, we'll face it together. But I think this time is different. I think he truly hit rock bottom and is trying to climb back up. Did you forgive him? The question caught me off guard. I thought about it. Not completely. There's still anger inside me. I still remember how I found you that day, on your knees with that apron. And every time I remember it, I want to kick him out again. But I also know that anger doesn't build anything. It only destroys. So, I'm trying to let go of the anger, little by little, with time. Do you think we can be a family again someday? We'll never be the family we were, but we can be a different family. A family where everyone knows their limits, where everyone respects the limits of others, where love is not blind, but conscious. Naomi rested her head on my shoulder. Thank you for rescuing me. I told you, You rescued yourself. I was just there to remind you that you could do it. 2 years have passed since that day. I opened my door and found my wife on her knees with an apron that read, "Housekeeping Staff." 2 years in which Naomi finished 3 semesters of architecture with straight A's. 2 years in which we traveled to Europe, to Asia, to all the places she always dreamed of seeing. 2 years in which we learned to be a couple again, not just parents. Jamal has kept his word. He comes to visit us once a month, always with something to show: a new client, an award at his job, a certificate from a course. He never asks for anything. He just shares his progress and leaves. Naomi is learning to trust him again. I still have reservations, but I'm working through them. Keisha and her children visit us more often. My daughter recently told me, "Dad, I've never seen you so happy." And Mom either. She's right. We are happy, in a different way, more conscious, more grateful. There are days when Naomi still has nightmares, days when she wakes up trembling, remembering. On those days, I hug her and remind her that it's in the past, that she is free now, that no one will ever put her on her knees again. And there are days when I have nightmares too, days when I dream I arrived too late, that I didn't make it in time to save her, that I lost her in that silent hell she lived through for 2 years. On those days, she hugs me and reminds me that I did arrive, that I am here, that we are still together. This morning, while we were having breakfast in the backyard, Naomi showed me her semester report card. "Straight A's," she said proudly. "You're incredible. Did you know that?" "I know it now," she replied with a smile. "I didn't know it before, but I do now." And that is the difference. Naomi now knows herself. She knows her worth. She knows her boundaries, and she will never again allow anyone, not even her own son, to take them away. If anyone asked me what I learned from all this, I would say several things. First, that love without respect is a prison, not a gift. Second, that sometimes the closest family can be the most damaging, and it's okay to walk away when necessary to survive. Third, that it is never too late to rebuild. Naomi is 61 years old and is living the best version of her life. Fourth, that second chances must be earned, not given away. Jamal is earning his day by day with actions, not words. And fifth, that dignity is never negotiable, never for anyone. There is a phrase my father told me when I was young. "Son, you can lose everything in life, money, property, success. But if you lose your dignity, you lose your soul." For years, I thought I understood that phrase. But it wasn't until I saw Naomi on her knees, cleaning the floor of her own house with a humiliating apron, that I truly grasped its meaning. Dignity is the only thing that truly matters, and protecting the dignity of the one you love is the greatest act of love that exists. Even if that means confronting your own son, even if that means breaking the family you built, even if that means starting over at 60 years old, because a life without dignity is not life, it is just existence. And Naomi, my wife, my partner of 37 years, deserves much more than just existing. She deserves to live. And that is exactly what she is finally doing. I'm really glad you're here and that I could share my story with you. If you liked it, show me by liking the video and subscribing to my channel. Let's see how many of us there are. Write in the comments which city you're watching from and what time it is. I'm so curious to know where all you wonderful people are tuning in from. If you want to support me a little extra, you can also send a small donation. I share new life stories for you every single day. And now, 2 of my most popular stories will pop up on the screen, so you can choose what to watch next.